Hello and welcome to another edition of Stars, Stripes, and Anfield Nights. Happy to be here. Sorry for being a little late, a little technical difficulties, but glad to be on for another Tuesday. With me this week, I have CT, Colin, and Paul. CT, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, thanks, Drew. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I lost most of my hair in this past week, missing it already, but hoping football coming up in the next couple of weeks will detract me from it. But Colin, how are you doing?
I'm quite well. Did notice that your hair is chopped, but you know, I guess you got to make a change for summer, and long hair midsummer, not the most ideal.
I should have made a pact with the football guys. If I cut my hair, then Liverpool win like 3 trophies next season. But we'll
Man,
see.
I would be bald as Arne Slot for that.
Solidarity. Paul, how you doing this evening? Oh,
Can't hear you, Paul.
Paul, still having. All right. Well, we'll wait for Paul to figure out the audio issue, and we'll jump in on tonight's topics. Euros and Copa America coming up soon. Oh, we good? Yep, we got you, Paul. All right. How are we doing tonight, Paul?
Oh, yes. A look at technical difficulties on my end, but I think we're all good to go now. I'm doing very well. I was just saying that I'm the bald one here, so I'm not Dutch, but I'm closer to Arne Slot than you guys. So, yes, all is good.
All right. I'll save you from seeing my hairline when I pull it back. Very cleverly disguised.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll jump into tonight's topics. Basically, international duty with Liverpool players, Luis Diaz, good news, and midfielders potentially from Atalanta. Those are the three big topics. But starting off tonight, we'll start with Conor Bradley's brace today for Northern Ireland. CT took me forever to find a clip of it online. Northern Ireland was just coming up tourism ads for me whenever I searched Google. But were you able to catch Conor Bradley's brace tonight?
I have not actually yet seen it, but I'm sure they're spectacular, and if not, a goal is a goal. But also, thanks for everyone for joining us on X as well. We know we are branching out, and a lot more viewers on X and YouTube as well. Join us on there. But with Conor Bradley, the experience that he showed after getting that run last season, I think he's just going to go from strength to strength, and it's just awesome to see him, contribute for his country, and and be in cracking form as well. Look forward to seeing what he does, and we'll talk about, I guess, the role moving forward with Liverpool and Trent playing in midfield for England. I think that's going to open the door. I think the ink is hopefully going to be dry soon on Trent's extension, and then when we finally hear from Slot, I'm sure one of the first questions might be about Trent.
Yeah, 100%. I think it was interesting too. I finally found a video of Bradley's goals. One was he came across the box and like tapped in a goal, and then the next one was he got around the back. The diving header. It's quite impressive, kind of marauding forward as a number 2 on the back of his shirt for Northern Ireland. But Paul, do you think there's a strong possibility that Conor Bradley takes over for right back and is arguably better in that position than Trent?
Well, better than Trent is a stretch, right? But I think there is place in the team for both. Actually, I saw a bit of the game. I was switching between that game, and because in Canada here we have the zone, so we are fortunate we can have all of those games. I was actually switching between that game and the Portugal game, and it was quite interesting because yes, he scored 2 goals from the box. He was inside the 6-yard box, and he was playing right back. So he was definitely given a free rein to roam. I think so. Conor Bradley as an attacking Trent is a different prospect from Trent. He's more a traditional right back as we know it, in terms of can hug the touchline, can put in that cross, can mark the left winger of the opponents, can do his defensive duties, and he can pop in and score a goal here or there. It doesn't strike me as the kind of player who want to venture into midfield like Trent, but he actually is the kind of guy that we actually need, I would say. So I think there's place in the team for both of them.
Colin, what about you? Do you think Bradley deserves a starting spot next season? Do you think Slot will potentially shift Trent into midfield just to accommodate Bradley, or do you think it's just going to be a sort of Kelleher situation where he's sitting on the bench behind Trent?
I want to be clear. I don't think anybody necessarily deserves anything. If it was me, I would be playing Trent in midfield, and I would be playing Bradley at right back. I just think that there is like limiting factors to having Trent at right back long term in terms of his own personal ambition for what I think he thinks his career can achieve. I think now is, with it's sounding like he's going to play, play midfield and start at midfield for England this whole European Championships tournament. With a new manager coming, it just seems like now is a good time and to make that transition. It's a clean break with a new manager. He's got, he's probably got different ideas about how he wants midfielders to play in terms of, specific tactical roles or, where they need to be. And I think that that's as good a time as ever to just make that clean break and put him in a midfield position permanently going forward. I think that does kind of make us seem a little thin at right back. There's nothing to say that obviously, if something were to happen in terms of injury concerns with Conor Bradley, that obviously Trent can cover there. It's not, that's not a concern or an issue. But to me, I think that they offer something very different. To Paul's point, I think there is space for both of their games in our team. Bradley is very direct. He's very athletic in his approach to going forward. Trent is more of the distributor, the quarterback. He's going to find the other players and then support once he's pinged a ball 60 yards or found a through ball to the 10's feet. And Conor Bradley is going to stay, I think, stay more wide, cause that width in using those overlaps and use his athleticism to be able to cover that ground. I think those are complementary kinds of players, people who you want in the team. And certainly, again, to the guys' points, there's space for both of them. And I think if we really wanted our very, very best lineup with our most talented players, I think that's where I would turn to.
Another thing too, Joe, if we believe that Slot will play 4-2-3-1, in that system, I think Conor Bradley is the most suited at right back. Not better, but more suited. So if we play 4-2-3-1 with Trent as part of a double pivot in the middle there, and then Bradley as a right back, that strikes me as the best of both worlds, if that makes sense. I think CT will agree with that. I can read his mind. I know him enough.
Yeah, I love just quickly, Drew, I agree with Paul. I think Trent's skills and what he can provide with this team, with the assists and, the records that he's achieved with assisting and, liking to get forward. And I just don't want to hold Bradley back too. I know the whole conversation started with Bradley, and whenever a young athlete or a player rises quickly in a short period of time, to me that generally tells me that they've got a lot more growth in them, or that you know, you don't want to put a cap or a ceiling, and you want to just let them play.
Yeah, totally agree with that, CT. It reminds me of like either Cole Palmer at Man City going to Chelsea, or like even Conor Gallagher kind of going to Crystal Palace, flourishing there, and then getting hindered back at Chelsea. You definitely don't want to stunt a player's development, especially when they're going and flying in games. And Bradley had that little injury spell end of the season at Liverpool, but it's exciting to see him bounce back from that already and hungry and back on the pitch. Exactly what you want to see from young players. He hasn't been the only one starring on international duty today. Top of the title of the video, Steven putting up Nunez HATTY. I'm personally don't want to put too much spotlight on him. I'm glad he's scoring. I'm glad he's away having fun with Uruguay. I think for me, it's most important to just see him have fun. But Paul, what do you think of Nunez's time at Uruguay and how important it is for coming back into Liverpool? How important is it for him to have a good tournament with Uruguay?
Well, I actually watched that game, that Uruguay game. Well, up until the point where Nunez was substituted, then it didn't matter to me anymore. And he scored 3 goals, but they were all from close range. They were all inside the box, which is kind of where you want your number 9 to be when the chance is broke. And it struck me that it appears as if Uruguay was playing a 4-2-3-1. So that's why he was the one that was always there. So are we onto something here? Because the stars are aligned for Slot. Because Nunez is doing well for his country as the number 9 in a 4-2-3-1. We're just discussing Conor Bradley would be very well for us at right back in a 4-2-3-1. And that would also create a space for Trent as part of the 2 in the same 4-2-3-1. But I think Nunez will be given the chance to show that he is valued the money that we paid for.
You might cut off, Paul. Thank you, back.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Right. Sorry. So I was saying Nunez deserves another opportunity to show that the money that was invested in him was actually worth it. And I think that with this new setup and the way the stars are aligning, the way the team is looking, I think he'll get his shot. What appears to me might result from this is I don't think we're going to sign a number 6, because if Trent is part of the 4-2-3-1, the need for a number 6 to be playing by themselves, might not be as great as if it was a 4-3-3 where the 6 would be on his own. So I think we're going to have a good year. At least I'm always optimistic, so it is what it is. But it was good to see that Nunez was actually in the box to finish those chances versus being out wide and trying to get the ball and trying to do too much. Because those 3 goals that he scored, it was just like instant reaction. He didn't have to think about it. So that's kind of what we hope to see going forward.
No, 100%, Paul. I think for me, like, even though they were a couple of tap-ins, I was just excited to see him, like you said, not really thinking about it, just getting the ball in the back of the net, which probably has been his biggest criticism in the past seasons, is overcomplicating things or just, drilling it at the keeper, etc. So really hope he does just carry on and continues to have fun. Before I pass the question on to you, Colin, just want to say, see, we're crossing 1,000 viewers for the stream right now. Just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining in and watching. We do appreciate everyone who comes and is a part of this. Star Stripes Anfield nights every Tuesday. If you have any comments or questions you'd like to ask us or put in the chat, please ask away. Come to YouTube, put them in the comments on the live stream or on X. I believe we received those comments as well, but we'll be happy to answer them, pull them up on screen. And thank you again for joining. Colin, one of the things I really like to see was Nunez posted about a photo of him and Suarez on international duty, and I believe, what was it? Is mentor's hero, something like that. I'm blanking on the translation of the caption on the photo, but idol or something. I think idol was the word. But how important do you think Nunez's time at Uruguay is right now, and like the mentorship of Suarez?
Yeah, I almost don't know that it can be overstated how important it probably is. Both the time away and time spent with someone who is so legendary as Luis Suarez, but also, frankly, Marcelo Bielsa. It's not just that he's doing well for his country and it's a good atmosphere, in terms of like good for his mental health and good for his game where he's scoring. He's getting to play under like a like truly legendary, coaching icon. Anybody who's like very invested or very interested in coaching understands like what Marcelo Bielsa means to football at large. Like this is a really, really important person, someone it has a singular vision of how football should be played, and is able to get the best out of players. So I think it's really important. I think it's very incredibly meaningful to have him go away and to have these great experiences, during the summer with his country and throughout the year, frankly, as well. But the 4-2-3-1 point, I think this is like the best possible outcome for Darwin. I think that there is we've kind of covered this in terms of like tactics talk about Arne Slot's teams. I think we're going to take less shots, but we're going to take more high quality shots. And that's something that a Marcelo Bielsa team is kind of built around as well. You mentioned those goals that he scored are like, all in the box, all within, maybe within what would be a 10-yard box, or, just outside of the 6. But it's like very, those kind of skills are transferable. You're playing in the same system with the same sort of ideas. Now, hopefully the sort of translation between how Marcelo Bielsa is asking him to play and how Arne Slot will ask him to play in different languages is able to be translated physically, but I mean, in terms of his performances, really as well. So that, of course, is the great hope, but I think it's unbelievably good signs for his success and for ours, in this next season.
100%. And Robert McGuire put this in the comments. I'm going to throw this one to you, CT, put you on the hot spot. Robert's getting a little worried about Mo, Trent, and Virgil walking out the door for free next summer. How do you feel about this situation right now, and what is the timeline for you of hoping these deals get locked and squared away?
Yeah, well, firstly, welcome, Robert, the chat. Glad you could join us, and thanks for the comments. I think a lot of us are feeling the same, and it's been kind of quiet on that front. Stephen's been talking about Euros coming up and ideally getting those done before Euros commence, because what if, a lot of those guys hit form, and especially relating to Trent, having a breakup, tournament in midfield, and then there's another 0 on the contract, when it gets done. But I don't feel that worried. I know Robert said a little worried. Trent, I think it's a done deal. Like, I don't see that happening. Mo, probably less likely out of all of them, but I still think it'll get done. I think, I don't, it just doesn't seem to be too keen on Saudi, relating to Mo. And I think, negotiations can take a little bit of time. It's all agents, it's posturing and things. So yeah, stay positive. I think it'll get locked up. It'll get done. And just quickly on Nunez, I think, echo what Paul and Colin said about staying optimistic. And, he's only going to turn 25 this season. And I think two things that I want to see from Nunez is, when he's in a hot patch of form, it's like scorching hot. But then when he's dry, it goes dry a little too long. So I want to, want to see him be more consistent. Just reduce those lean patches and then make those hot patches more normal. Just see him affect the game in other ways like he does as well. Finish the ones he needs to finish, but his work rate is unquestionable, and I love his aggression. He always keeps playing and running it all the way till the final whistle. Not many strikers are like him in terms of assisting as well and getting other guys set up. So I think this has been said on our platform, but when Mo was out for AFCON, we did it as a team. We shouldn't rely on one striker or one player to do it all. I think the Liverpool front three has always needed to work together, work better together. And I think hopefully that, that happens this season under Slot. I'm excited.
Yeah, I totally agree, CT. I think a big frustration too for me was when Nunez started getting hot, there was like an international break or something to break up that spell naturally. And really unfortunate. Don't foresee that ever changing with the breaks being inconvenient for a season. But like you said, we had that good patch when Salah was out, everyone filling in, and then it just became a little lean in terms of options. Somebody was injured, like Jota was injured for so long. It seemed like the front three was taking time off in terms of who was fully fit. Never seemed to really get a consecutive stretch of games where everyone was fit and available. Seems to be story of Liverpool, though. We'll see if hopefully it's not the story of Slot coming in. But in that mention that Robert put in the comments, talk about Virgil, and he's another one who's having a stellar international preview before the Euros. Paul, what do you think in regards to Robert's question about worrying about contracts, and do you see Van Dijk taking to the leadership as a real, maybe a capstone for his career with Liverpool? Because I can't see him going right into another club and being the captain. How do you see him for Netherlands and Liverpool in the next couple seasons, contract-wise and for the Euros?
Well, I am not worried about any of those three players, to be quite honest. Let's take them one at a time. So Virgil is the captain for Liverpool Football Club. Now, if the team offers him an extension, which we think will be done, and he wants to leave, he refuses, it would mean that he would be going to a better situation. How many clubs out there are better than Liverpool Football Club? Okay, I give you Real Madrid. That's about it. The only other club that probably can pay him more money than us is Man City. And we absolutely know that that won't happen. He's not going to Man United. He won't go to Real Madrid because of his age. So it's not like a 32, 33-year-old Virgil van Dijk has a lot of better option than the captain of Liverpool. So I think we actually hold the cards here. So I think if both persons, both the team and Virg, wants to continue this relationship, so it doesn't suit either to separate, so I'm not worried. Trent is similar. There has been rumor about Trent going to Real Madrid, or Real Madrid probably want to turn his head. The only way that would make sense for Real Madrid is if Trent was going to go there as a right back. And we believe that Trent wants to not only stay at Liverpool, but Trent wants to continue his career in midfield. And especially if he has a good time with the English team over the Euros, I just don't see Trent, itching to go back to right back. So if you're talking about midfield, that would absolutely rule out Real Madrid because they have a bunch of options in Real Madrid. So Trent would not leave Liverpool to go to sit on the bench over there. And as a matter of fact, they would not even offer him a kind of contract that would turn his head because he would not be a need for them. And again, he's not going to go to City or United, and Barcelona doesn't have any money. So I'm not too worried about those two guys. Salah, now you could say, well, there is Saudi, because that's where there's no shortage of funds in that part of the world. But again, I keep coming back to my observation. Salah, I saw an article the other day that suggests that Salah is making close to £1 million per week in Liverpool. 350-ish for his wages, but then all the other endorsements that he has, his total gross is pushing £1 million a week. So Salah is not strapped for cash, right? And we know that, and he has said it multiple times, that he wants to continue to play football at the highest level, which means the Champions League, right? And a lot of us assume that he's going to Saudi just because he's a Muslim and Saudi is a Muslim country. And I think that is too simplistic a way to look at it. Because Salah being a Muslim, I don't think that is enough to pull him to Saudi Arabia because he's from Egypt. So they are two separate countries. And I'm sure he doesn't have any issue in practicing his faith in Liverpool. And his kids are going to school in England, and I'm sure they're happy. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that I am more concerned about, are we going to sign the right player to come in and complement this team? But I have no concerns about the three players that we have. I guess you could say that Salah could possibly leave next year on a free, so that would be a big loss to us. But you know what? If that's what he wants to do, then I guess he deserves that right to do it. I don't think it will happen. But if that's what he wants to do, I'm not too fussed about it, actually. So I am not concerned. I think both of these guys will be with us for a little while, and we will just build a team around them with some younger players.
No, definitely. I really like your points on Salah there, Paul. I think he wants to play top level football. I've seen him say that he'd like to finish his career at Liverpool. Robert Maguire chiming in again, saying it seems like bad business to let contracts run down. Knicks, the streets are buzzing. I believe that's Rigo saying, assuming they want to meet Slot first before ironing things out. I think for me, and then Regista saying it's more like 300 million worth of potential players lost if they go on a free. I think for me, that's might be my only concern, is that if it's a big hiccup for Slot coming in, like things don't hit the ground running smoothly. I don't think there's any reason why it wouldn't. I think he's in perfect position to really push the club forward and start something new. But if for any reason it looks like it might be a long transition, I could see Salah and Virgil jumping ship. And for me, Trent, the one player out of those three I'm actually kind of worried about getting his head turned is Trent at Real Madrid. If they prompt him for the right back, but adventuring forward, because was it Carvajal? It's getting old. Probably in his last. If they got Trent to replace him, I'm pretty positive they just let Carvajal go or ride the bench. So
I think just with Edwards back in the fold now, moving forward, to Robert's point, I don't think we'll ever be in positions where contracts will be close to running out, because Edwards is, super onto that. He'll either lock up players that he wants to stay sooner, or that he plans to sell. He'll make sure that they've already re-signed so that their resale value will be high. I think things are going to change, I think, with Edwards here now.
But there's also risk involved too, guys. It's all well and good to say give player A or player B this extension because you don't want them to run the contract down to leave on a free. It can also come back to haunt the club. A year ago, United, um, Rashford had 2 years left on his deal. He had a good year, and they extend his contract, give him this bumper. I think he's on like 300 a week or some crazy amount, right? Because he's getting into his peak, and they don't want his contract to run down. Now it appears as if they might having some regrets because he's not untransferable. Because nobody's going to take him with that wages. Same thing with Casemiro. Casemiro is sitting there that they want to get rid of, but he has another 2 or 3 years left at huge money. So there are risks. You can't just say we're going to extend the guy by 2-3 years at big money because you don't want him to go on a free. Because if his performance or injury or something goes south, that money is guaranteed to him. So there are some risks as well on the other side.
Colin, what do you think about the contract situation of Trent, Virgil, and Salah right now?
I feel very at peace about it, to be honest with you. Like I'm the only one that will really eat at me if it goes south is the Trent one. I just love him. Like he's just the talisman of the team. I think he has been for a little while now. And so like that one will really hurt. But I feel so strongly about, if people do not want to be here, I don't want to try to convince them that this is the right place for them to be. I want people who want to be here, and there are plenty of them in the world. Like there are plenty of players who are good enough to play for us and want to be here enough that I feel at ease about it. Like I'm sure that and I've kind of always thought this, that I think 2 of the 3 contracts will get done. I don't know that it's going to be all 3. I could see it being all 3, but I just suspect that one of them is not going to work right. It seems like Virgil, to Paul's point, doesn't feel. I don't feel like there's many places to go. I don't feel like Trent has I certainly don't think he has the path to captaincy or to the kind of impact long term that he would want, or certainly that he's going to get from Liverpool in going to Real Madrid. I think that there is certainly worry that his best friend has gone there, has been there a year, and has already won another European championship, and is widely regarded as like the best young player in the world. I think that certainly is something to be concerned about, or something that could definitely sway him in going. But if he certainly would have to know that if he makes that decision, then he's giving up on the idea of being the captain, of being the talisman. And what he's settling for, is nothing to scoff at. Like it's playing the rest of your career and winning trophies at Real Madrid, like in the beautiful Madrid sun, like certainly appealing, I think. But it just is not. It won't be his show. It won't be his club. And I think that is something that very clearly Liverpool can offer.
Yeah, I fully expect a sit-down chat from Steven Gerrard if the rumors get too intense. Gerrard just going over to Trent's house, knocking on the door and sitting him down.
Correct.
So we'll see. Yeah, I'm more comfortable and confident that these deals will get done if they're meant to get done as well. But I'll try to, Mazi, I'll ask your question in a sec. I'm going to wrap up the international duty talk. CT, to kind of wrap it up, Jota's had a really good sort of friendlies going through. I think Szoboszlai, but I'll trade this in too. Szoboszlai walked off the field injured, precaution. Robertson, same kind of thing. With Gravenberch and Gakpo also featuring for Netherlands. What are you looking for from these international tournaments? You also get McAllister, Diaz. Are you just hoping that our players get through unscathed, or are you hoping this gives the players a chance to have some fun and really find form before going into the Liverpool preseason?
I think you hit the nail in terms of injuries, that first and foremost, get through it healthy. But, and that's the selfish side of being the fan. But the other side is obviously, I want the best for the players, this is different. This is the other side of their careers, international football. And we see the pride that players play with in major tournaments. You mentioned Macca, the Copa America, Euros as well, with Virgil captaining his country and and things like that. It's special. I hope they all have a successful tournament, regardless of what happens with their teams. Kanate, we're going to mention him too, getting the nod over Saliba, which is raised some eyebrows. I'd love to hear your thoughts over that. He's probably my biggest injury concern worry. If he's going to be playing 90 minutes deep in this tournament, because France is probably going to go fairly deep. But yeah, I'm kind of be looking for more the under radar guys, like the Bradleys and other guys who are on international duty that maybe not getting as much football opportunities. We've been going back and forth. I wish Harvey Elliott will get an opportunity too, but England's pretty stacked as well, as the point Paul made. You got to take somebody out. But look, moving forward, I want to continue to see Diaz, do big things for Colombia, and Nunez banging goals. I think for the attackers more so, it's special seeing the ball go in the back of the net, and hopefully that form, can carry over.
I definitely agree with what you said too on the players who haven't really had a chance to shine at Liverpool completely yet. For me, that's Gravenberch, and I really hope he has a chance with the Netherlands and get some time there. Gakpo as well. I think for me, watching him in the last tournament really got me excited of the player he could be. So I'm on the side of hoping players have good tournaments, because for me, I always think if you're playing well, you're doing well. You kind of have that extra bit of energy versus when you're not playing well, kind of energy gets drained and chances of more injuries picking up. But that could just be pseudoscience from me. Paul, I know you're not a big fan of the internationals. I know no one in North America is going to have a fun time watching this summer. But how do you feel about the international Liverpool's players? Are you excited to see them in the tournaments, or do you just want them back to Liverpool safe and sound as quickly as possible?
Well, I'm actually excited to see two players in particular. I want to see how Trent really makes out in midfield, because I think if he has a good game or a good tournament playing in midfield for England, and Conor Bradley continue to play very well for the Irish, then that will make the job the decision easier for Slot, right? So I'm looking forward to see how Trent does in midfield. I'm also quite interested to see how Gravenberch make out in the Dutch team, because of injuries in that team. I think he's going to get a lot of minutes, because Frankie de Jong, who is a sure starter, is out. This guy from Atalanta, KOOP minus, he just pulled out yesterday because of injuries. So they have to be playing Gini Wijnaldum for a lot of minutes, and he's like almost 50. So I expect to see Gravenberch get quite a few minutes in that team. And also, there's this other guy that's been linked to us from Feyenoord, Gary Chuda. He seems to be playing a few minutes as well. So my watching the Euros is really not to support support any team because I don't care who win, to be honest. But I just looking forward to see the players that are Liverpool players as well as those that are linked to us, so we can have more of a feel of what they will offer if we sign them. So who wins? I don't care, actually.
And what's your thoughts on Konate starting over Saliba?
Well, the way the French play, I'm surprised that it's not Konate and Saliba. Put it that way. Because the other guy, Upamecano, I don't rate him. I think he's a donkey, actually. I think he's so overrated, right? And I'm going to bet you that from the second or third game onwards, if not the start, it will be Konate and Saliba as the partnership. For whatever reason, the coach doesn't seem to rate Saliba. But every time, like he played the last warm-up game, and I think he looks okay. He was quite solid. So Konate is a starter for sure if he can stay healthy. So that's my concern. So now begs the question now, if Konate plays, have a good tournament, and come back healthy, does that mean that he automatically kick Kwanzaa back to the bench? Right? Probably. But whatever happens, if he comes back healthy, then we will have good, healthy competition in our squad, which is what we really want. So I guess it's all good.
And Colin, how are you feeling about the international tournaments? Do you have any dark clouds lingering in the back of your mind about injuries, or are there players you're really excited to see?
Yeah, I'm more excited than I am worried. I'm honestly more worried in the middle of the season. Friendlies, camps, those seem to be much more of an issue. Now, I think there's a reasonable argument to be made that I probably should be worried about them, but I just am not. I don't know. I think maybe, the overall minutes on players' legs can be a real concern. Luckily, I do feel like it's early enough that if they pick up, even like a month knock or a month and a half, pull a hamstring and it's 6 weeks, that they'll be ready by the beginning of the season. Obviously as it continues to go on, then it becomes more and more concerning, but it's just part of the game. And I think that there is a real place in the game for international football. I think how that structure is done needs to be revised. But I think there is a place for it, and there should be a place for it. So to be like overly concerned about it, I don't see a ton of merit in like just worrying. I mean, you could be that worried every time they stepped on the field in a Liverpool jersey too. Like, oh my goodness, like Konate is gonna tear his hamstring off the bone today. Like, yeah, it's always a possibility, but like, you just don't think about it. Or you just hope it doesn't happen. So I'm not super concerned. I am very excited to see especially a couple of our guys play. I think this tournament for Trent is going to be, absolutely massive. He was the best player in their warm-up games. And I wouldn't expect anything else from him, frankly. So I'm expecting big things from him.
I totally agree, Colin. I'm excited for the tournaments coming up. I love your comment about the hamstring during a regular season game. I think they're going to have the players who go far in tournaments. They always come back a little late to the summer camp, so they're going to have their rest. And like you said, I'd be more frustrated with the international breaks during the season, especially when it's like a friendly that can seem absolutely pointless.
Drives me absolutely up a wall. I hate them.
Fingers crossed for our lads. Go as far as possible. Hopefully bring home a international trophy and all come back safe and sound. But before we move on to the next topic for the night, just want to take time and say again, thank you for everyone who is here on the stream, watching the stream, commenting. We really do appreciate everyone who comes these Tuesday nights to the Star Stripe Anfield nights every Tuesday, and we really enjoy everyone that comes and is part of this. That's why me, Colin, Paul, and CT show up. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, please get them in the comments, and we'll pull them up. And on cue, I'll bring up Maisie's comment from earlier. Guys, how do you feel with Diaz staying? I think he can be an important player next season at his best. It's very destructive. It's very destructive best, I imagine. So the quote that we pulled for tonight is Diaz saying, "I'm very happy there at Liverpool. It's a great team and club. I always wanted to play there, so I'm very happy and calm. I'm not thinking about anything else." So the speculations have been around Diaz potentially moving, but it kind of nips him in the butt from his end. CT, what do you think about Diaz and his opportunities coming for Liverpool next season? Do you see him being nailed on starter, and would you be sad if he did decide to leave?
Yeah, certainly for me personally, he's a very valued member of the team. And, you know, in terms of the left wing position, we know how crowded that can be. And that's good. You know, you want competition. And, you know, I didn't mention Cody Gakpo. And, you know, he's a young player with a very bright future as well. And, you know, very versatile. But for me, yeah, I think Diaz deserves to be that starting left wing on paper, obviously. In terms of him coming out, I love to hear those quotes that he's happy. You know, he feels at home. He's got support. That's all beautiful to hear from a fan perspective. Maybe the fact that we also have a good South American influence within the team, that obviously, you know, that's important. And, you know, the family kind of vibe. Obviously, Klopp leaving, you know, it's unsettling for a young player. I think the links will continue, though. Paul's raised a good point previously about the pay. Diaz does seem to be crazily underpaid, and maybe, you know, he's starting to feel better because maybe there's some, you know, a bigger payday on the horizon. Who knows? But I think he's certainly one of the most underpaid forwards or players on the team. But his importance to the team is critical. We all know where we want to see improvement. You know, that Man City game was basically, in a nutshell, in a snapshot, was everything that Diaz does. You know, the Anfield Man City game where, you know, he was ripping it up, you know, taking on players and cutting in. And Stevens made a good point about it being a little predictable. But I think, yeah, finishing wise, he has to improve. But you love the dribbling and the attacking mindset. He takes defenders on. He loves to mix it up and be physical as well. And you love that from those players, you know. So I'm looking forward to seeing Diaz hopefully have a big season and kick on.
Colin, how about you? Where do you see Diaz featuring next season? Do you think it's at Liverpool, or do you think it's possible he moves on?
It will be at Liverpool, and I don't think it is a stretch or unreasonable to say that if Barcelona were in better financial standing, that it would not be. CT makes I think the point, which is that, you know, he's at the point where he would want either a move to somewhere with a bigger contract or to sign a bigger contract with the club that he's at. What's his weekly pay? Like 60 or 75, something like that? 50?
Oh, you're muted?
Yeah, Lucha is on £56,000 a week, which is literally half the lowest paid of the other front five.
Yeah, I think that's also a third of what Gravenberch is being paid. Like, yeah. Or almost essentially a third. Gravenberch on 150. Which is, you know,
Nunez on 140.
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely do not blame him. Like, he's at the point in his life and the point in his career where now's the time to strike for a 5-year deal somewhere where he's gonna triple his money or quadruple his money, you know, whatever that would be. And I really do. I really think that if Barcelona had any cash at all, they would figure out a way to make something work. Didn't I read an article about Barcelona not having the funds to like register some of their new assistant coaches?
Well, for Barcelona to be able to sign Lucho, they would have to do one of two things. Either they need to sell or to move on Frankie de Jong, who is on a, I don't know, 700,000 euros a week or some crazy amount, or if they could sell Rafinha or some combination, but they have to sell before they can buy. They have no money.
Yeah, they've got nothing. I'm almost certain I had read an article that I think that part of their new coaching staff, part of Hansi Flick's new coaching staff can't be registered.
That's possible. They're that bad.
They can't like pay the registration in order to get them set up with the Spanish FA at the moment until they like are receiving some more money to come in.
And the new camp sort of renovation as well.
I cannot believe, this is sort of tangential, but I really cannot believe someone who had the GOAT player, one of the all-time GOAT sports merchandising like icons, like someone who is like reinvented the amount of money that the team that he plays for can make based on their merchandise sales, has no, like they have no money. They've got nothing. It's frankly like shocking and like truly business malpractice at its finest. But back to Lucho, I think he does deserve more money. I think we would be good to give him a new deal, to upgrade those terms and to expect more from him. I think there's no problem with that really at all. And I think he has it in him. I believe in that player. I believe in that person. I think it's hard to overstate how impactful the like personal situation that he went through in this past year probably has been to his professional life. And I think it's important to take a step back a lot of times and remember like that these are human beings with lives and that things that go on in them and that like the rest of us directly correlates to how and what we're doing and how we're performing in our professional lives as well. So I believe in him. I believe in a better season on the horizon for him.
I have a different take. Let me give you let me play devil's advocate here as it relates to Lucho. Now, being a nerd, love the football club, sometimes I tend to go too deep. So I went and looked at some of the numbers. First of all, I love Lucho, so I'm not advocating for him to leave. However, I went and looked at the numbers because we know that Michael Edwards and company, that's what drives them. Now, this past season, his Lucho's best season in terms of production. He had 13 goals in all competition. Now he had 8 goals in the Premier League. Now to put that in perspective, Sadio Mane's worst Liverpool year, he had 10 goals in the Premier League. Lucho had 13 goals across all competition this year. This equals Sadio Mane's worst year as a Liverpool player. So the point I'm trying, and bearing in mind also that of the front 5, Lucho had the most minutes played. So there was no excuse of not being available. So the point I'm trying to make is we love him. He's always quite busy. You know, he seems to be always in the game. His end product has been lacking if you look at the numbers. And knowing how the hierarchy in Liverpool, how they think. I think he's going to struggle to convince Edwards and company to give him that increase in wages that we think he deserves based solely on those numbers. So that is why if he leaves, I would miss him, yes, but I wouldn't. It probably would be win-win for everybody because it most certainly would mean an improved contract for him at his new club. And if he goes to, say, PSG, they pay high wages. And Lucho is 27 now. He'll be 28 in the middle of the season. So this is probably the last point in his career where he can make big money. And a lot of these South American players, they have big families, a lot of brothers and sisters, and I'm not sure about his personal situation, but a lot of these South American players, I know Darwin, it applies to, they come from very poor backgrounds. So a lot of them have to support a village in their home country. So you can see it both ways. You can see why he will be pressing for a big payday or a big increase in his wages. But based on the numbers, you can also see why Liverpool might be reluctant to say just double his wages as we think they should.
Yeah, I think that for me, Paul, you hit the nail on the head. Definitely in con with what you said about Lucho's personal situation last year with his father and mother being kid, like that was catastrophic. I can't believe he came back and played so quickly afterwards. As you said, Paul, I'm curious with Edwards back in charge if this is that kind of statement moment where we're not going to be lenient or we're going to be ruthless business wise. We're going to cut players that don't fit the model. Are ready to move on because we do know that they wanted to push on the likes of like Henderson early, not give the contracts to Milner, etc. And we potentially missed out on signings like Bruno Guimaraes. And it's an interesting point with I think Colin, you said it earlier in the episode. We're in that perfect transition moment, or it might have been you, CT. I'm sorry, Colin or CT. That transition moment between Slot, Edwards coming back in, where I'm excited to see what kind of changes happen and what the club is moving forward. If it's going to be that ruthless club, or if we're going to give players a little more leeway, because it's I certainly feel like our fan base has argued for both over the years, and it'll be interesting to see where the penny drops. But that being said, we'll wrap into our final topics of the night. As I say that, please, if you have any last questions, get them in the chat. Again, we really do appreciate everyone who's watched the stream tonight. And as we wrap up, we'll wrap up with potential incomings. The two names at the top of the screen, at the bottom of the screen, wherever you're watching, KOOP Miners and Ederson. Paul, I'm going to go back to you because you mentioned this earlier in the stream. KOOP Miners, midfielder at Atlanta, recently, as I said, injured international duty. If we could only pick one of Ederson or KOOP Miners, I know you said you don't think we'll get a number 6. Which of those two would you argue for?
Okay, so KOOP Miners is the better player, but Ederson would be the better fit. But having said that, I am not crazy for either. KOOP Miners, his best position to me is more a 10. He's a midfielder, but more a 10 or an advanced 8. And even though I think he would work very well in our setup, but we have another 4 or 5 players already in the team that can perform that function to a high level. So and most of them, literally all of them, are younger than KOOP Miners, because isn't he like 26, I think? So I could rule him out just based on that. But he is a better player from a talent perspective compared to Ederson. Ederson, I'm not so sure about him either. Of course, he's Brazilian, so he have that Brazilian tax, just like English tax, and he plays for the Brazilian national team. But even the last game Brazil played over the weekend, that friendly game, I watched it. I think you were talking about it together, CT online, while we were watching the game. And Ederson is not really a holding midfielder. It doesn't strike me as that number 6 that we are looking for. He's not an out and out number 6. He's more kind of a 6, 7, in that mid range between a 6 and an 8, if you know what I mean. So I think if we are going to play a double pivot with 2 6s beside Trent, yes, he could work, but I don't see him as a crazy upgrade again to what we already have in our team. In my mind, if we are going to sign a 6, it has to be a quality world-class 6. We just don't want to sign just another midfielder just to say we signed someone, because we have a dozen midfielders in and around the team. So I don't think we need any of them because of what I just said. But if we sign any, it would be Ederson. But I don't want either.
That's fair. CT, do you have any rebuttal for that, or any thoughts to add on KOOP and Miners or Ederson?
Yeah, I'll quickly say to me, they don't really like set the world on fire in terms of like filling a huge need. Like Paul said, I'm looking at both as, talented younger players with, would increase our depth. And for that, I'd be open to that. But I do feel like we'll probably end up with one Atalanta player, because I've said this in our chat. Richard Hughes was from Italy growing up, and from the Atalanta youth system as well. I think so. He's very high on the talent there, and obviously, they played extremely well against us as well. We had our first-hand look. We've been scouting them super heavily. But if I'm going to pick one, I think, like Paul, Ederson, I could find him better use on our team a little bit more than KOOP Miners. We'd love to hear Colin's thoughts.
Colin?
I was just looking at age profiles for both of them. Ederson is 24, but he's turning 25 on July 7th. So he's not like majorly young either. Fits the like relative profile, relative age profile that we're looking for. He's only 6 foot tall. I've made this point on a couple of streams. I don't see who the person is that we should be recruiting as our 6. I'm not gonna like sit here and say that I've heard of every single player in the top 5 leagues, and there's not someone who could surprise me who would fit us really, really well. I don't have the kind of hubris for that, frankly. But I do watch a lot. Being in the group with you guys and being involved in like football Twitter, and like I see a lot. I think we all do. There's not like someone who strikes me as like a fit in all quadrants, unfortunately. I don't see the person who is athletically and physically 6'3" and athletic, available for less than $85 million. Age wise is 26 or less, definitely 25, around 26, 25 or less. Still has room to improve. Also is great on the ball and unbelievable defensively and wins header. Like, I don't see who that person is at the moment. I'm not a scout. I don't do it professionally, but I don't see who that person definitely is. And frankly, like I think that we will know who Michael Edwards really thinks that person is, because either we're going to go get him for whatever the cost is. If we're willing to pay 110 million you know, whatever our offer was for Caicedo, if we really, really think that someone is the right guy, you know, for less than that amount of money, like we're going to do it. And if not, I don't think we're going to get someone. Or we're certainly not going to pay a lot for someone. If we're going to take a risk at it and we're going to go for someone who's in a lower league in a different country, in a country, most of us don't follow, or then it's certainly not going to be for 60, 70 million pound. It's going to be for 15, 20. And that, again, that to me seems like a much more realistic signing rather than, I've seen the like typical Twitter BS of like, no, we're going to go back in for Tchouaméni. He'll want to come now. And I'm like, I need us to stop. I know we can't get out of our own way, but like, I need us to stop talking about it.
Like the coal wheel links. It's never gonna end.
It's never gonna end, and it's absolutely not ever gonna happen. I mean, knowing it, if anybody knows anything about Todd Bowley and how that man operates, he holds a grudge. He will never do business. He is never going to do business with Liverpool. He is never going to do business with John Henry. So, I suspect that our gaze is going to be for people who have the ability to become superstars in a 15 million to 35 million pound range, rather than, that guy from Atalanta was pretty good. Like, why don't we give him a shout? And they're like, 65 million, please. And we're like, I'm good. I think I'm good on that,
Yeah, Colin, I'm excited to see like the next kind of Sadio Mane kind of transfer where you've seen him play even in the Premier League and you're like, oh, that's a good player, and then Edwards and Co bring him in and you're like, wow, that's a world beater. Like I'm curious to see if like it's like an Embuemo or anyone that we're seeing under our noses in the Premier League and they just pluck them, put them in the Liverpool squad, and they just take off to another level. But as we're going to close the stream with this last comment from Goofy Harry Potter fan 1234. Like the name, and if you guys have to make the signings for Liverpool, which players would you sign, and which positions would you strengthen? Thanks. Thank you for the comment, Goofy Harry Potter fan. Paul, I'll start with you, and I'm going to limit it because I do need to have dinner before my soccer game tonight. Say soccer because it's in America. Apologies for everyone abroad. But Paul, one player that if you could make the signing for Liverpool, what signing would it be? What position? Oh, you're muted, Paul.
Obviously, we need to look at three positions, but I'm just going to address just one, which is a right winger. So the ideal right winger has to be somebody that's young, so preferably 21, 22-ish, has a track record over 2-3 years, somebody that we think could eventually be the successor over there, somebody that can come in and take some pressure off Salah for the next year or two, because we'll be playing close to 60 games a year. But somebody that we think has the talent, has the quality to be a long-term successor to Salah over there. Because I do not want a right-footed right winger. I want a left-footed right winger. So, of course, you guys will guess who I'm talking about. Bakayoko. So, he is the guy that I think would be a perfect signing, because there might be games too where we might want to have Salah, experiment a little bit and have him in the middle of the park, and they could probably play together. So he would be my perfect signing. There are others, but I think I will leave the 6 and the centre back to the other guys. But I would for 40 million, Bakayoko in my mind would be a very good signing.
Colin?
I like what Paul's saying. I think I like Bakayoko. I really, really love after being on the stream and then doing a bit of research into the numbers, I think Brian Mbeumo is like massively underrated. His numbers are unbelievably good in a very different way than Bakayoko's at that position. And I wonder if they wouldn't want something that is a little different. Bakayoko kind of reminds me of a Mo Salah, very pacey, very sort of, especially that in those first like 2 years, very pacey, very direct. I wonder if Mbeumo might be someone that they would look at just based on a little different, little change of pace. The one that I would do actually is Bruno Guimaraes. If he's available for 85, I think we're paying a lot less than we would have for Caicedo, and I think we're getting a better player and someone who still has a lot of ability to go upward in terms of his overall quality. So to me, I don't. Again, I have a real hard time seeing what other kind of solutions there might be. I think they are very few and far between. I expect that if it is not a signing like that, it's someone that we've probably never heard of or probably have not ever watched. So to me, I think that Guimaraes signing kind of looks a little bit like a Sadio Mane signing, like you were mentioning, Drew.
And CT, wrap it up with you.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. If we are breaking the bank, which we probably won't, but Isak would be. I'd love to see him as a red one day. Scored an absolute cracker with Sweden. Had me out of my seat. But Bakayoko, realistic, very happy with that signing. And look at DM, but there isn't that perfect DM out there as well. So I think we're okay with where we're at with the double pivot, and we'll see how it goes.
What about you, Drew? Who do you want?
Oh, I thought I was going to sneak out of there.
No.
I'll, because we need another left winger. I'm just throwing it as a joke, but one of my friends sent me a good compilation of this Leon player, Ryan Shirky, young 20-year-old player. Looks very exciting. One of my friends sends me all these videos, so he's been kind of the one I've been deep diving in. We absolutely do not need another left winger, center attacking mid, but that's the fun name I'll throw out there. Serious one.
Ignacio?
I'll let Steven run that train. I'm gonna piggyback on CT, Isak. Actually, I do hope all the best for Darwin. I hope he comes back fit and firing. But I do love like a technical player who can just dribble with the ball at his feet and has that kind of skill set where he can hold the ball up, just weave in and out. Like I think Isak's assist last season was one of the best assists I've ever seen in the Premier League, where he drove down the line from like halfway field, beat every single player, cut into the box, and then dumped it off like
Everton. I remember that game.
Yeah, so I think just having an option like that, we'll see if Dan's comes. I know Dan's isn't that type of player, but I'd like to see one more like pure striker who doesn't get injured a lot, like Jota in the squad. If we're talking about like what kind of football manager FIFA buy I would make, that's the final word. And we'll throw out a fun one just to close it on that, so I don't absolutely destroy the stream with that last terrible take. But Germany, Scotland opening on Friday, I believe. Who are we picking? We got any? Paul, Germany.
You mean to win the Euros or just for that game?
Just the opening game.
I think that's going to be a draw, 1-1. Well, I know it's going to be a 1-1 draw, right? As to the Euros, I just have a sneaky feeling, that Portugal squad is extremely deep and loaded with quality. So I am going to say, sorry, England, I don't think it's coming home. I am going to go with Portugal.
No, 100%, Paul. I'm going to quickly piggyback, so I'm not the last one saying that. But Portugal was one I threw in the WhatsApp group as well. I totally agree with what you say. I think everyone's sleeping on Portugal. I back you on that. I'm going to go with a draw as well. Piggyback off that again, because I think that's a solid choices there, Paul. Totally agree. Colin, who are you picking for Germany, Scotland, and your Euro winner?
Yeah, Germany win 2-0. I think Scotland, unfortunately, are toothless. I just think that they are. I really like them. They have a lot of collective spirit. I just think that they're absolutely a toothless team. 2-0 Germany. I do think England are going to win it. Well, okay. I think England should win it. Whether or not they actually will, they're as likely to win the tournament as they are to lose all 3 games and go home with their tail between the legs. Like, I just, who knows if their heads are right, if they're like it, who can say? I think England have what it takes to be able to do it. I think your shout of Portugal kind of being maybe a dark horse team and overlooked is extremely correct. The problem is that every time you go into a tournament and everyone's like, they're the dark horse team. They're never the dark horse team. They're never the team that anyone that is going to go far. We'll
2018, right?
Yeah. I just don't. Every time I see a predictor, they're always like, this is the team that you should look out for. And then they go 1 and 2 in their group and they don't move on. Typical. So yeah, England. I'm backing England.
Oh, we'll see, Colin. I think Serbia might smack them up opening game.
That would be funny.
CT, who are you picking for Germany, Scotland, and who's your champion of the Euros?
To wrap up, I'll keep it Liverpool positive. I think Germany will win the opener, I think, but for my final, my picks are France versus Holland. I think France, Kanate and Virgil at the back for Holland. Liverpool's 2 pillars in defence, going to hold us down. And I think with Arne Slot here, the Dutch are going to rule. I think Gakpo, Gravenberch and Virgil are going to get it done. So yeah, France, Holland final.
Okay. Great call, CT. I like that for ending the stream. So thank you everyone who's joined us tonight. We really, really do appreciate everyone who joins each week and watches these streams. We hope that you enjoyed the video. I hadn't said this yet. Stephen always gets on me to say it. Please like, subscribe. If you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe. LFC Transfer Window does videos every day, and we do our Star Stripes Anfield night stream every Tuesday night. So again, thank you for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate it, and have a great rest of your week. We'll see how those Euro predictions go when we see you next Tuesday.